Good evening, everybody. We are excited, man. We are live here for a very special Soul Food Series edition, man. I am so excited. Y'all will not believe it. We've had an amazing time. Every Thursday we have had an opportunity to come together and talk about some real issues, life issues, relational issues, and tonight's gonna be so powerful because I got my sister in here with us tonight, man. Great friend, great woman of God herself. And, as many of you know, just in full transparency, of course, people know I'm a pastor. They also know that I've experienced divorce and dating. And now I'm remarried to a wonderful woman now in ministry. And so a lot of people ask me all the time what that process looked like for me in church. And so we got Coach Candace in the building. I'm going to stop talking and turn it over to her tonight, man. But y'all pull up, share, and like the post. And it's going down. It's a Soul Food Series.
Yes. So let's start off with something fun. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, so let's do 60 seconds. So I'm going to throw a word to you and give me a word or phrase.
Okay.
The first thing that comes to mind. You ready?
All right.
All right. Love.
Latoya.
Friends.
So many. Necessary.
Peace.
I got it.
Pastoring.
Toughest job you'll ever love.
Commitment.
Necessary to sustain decisions.
Dating.
Take your time in the process.
Church.
Necessary, needed, place of love, restoration, healing.
Bondage.
A lot of people have invisible chains.
Wealth.
The wisdom of the poor is despised. You need money.
Romance.
Keeps the fires burning. Takes creativity.
Education.
Necessary.
Loyalty.
Much needed. Very neglected in relationships.
All right. Parenting.
A learning process.
All right. And last but not least, Latoya.
Best decision I ever made in my life.
Oh, that's so sweet. So let's go right into it.
All right.
All right, you just cheesing. That's what I like. So we know that you've been through quite a lot. Mm-hmm. You're a pastor. Yes. You're an attorney. You wear many hats. You're a father. You're your husband. Tell us, give us like a 2-minute timeline of what your life has been, from a summary of what your life has been since your divorce all the way leading up to your current marriage.
Okay, so I was divorced in 2015 after 14 years of marriage. I'd been in ministry, of course, that entire time. In fact, I was going through divorce at the same time that I was being consecrated a bishop in Full Gospel Baptist Church Fellowship. So there's a lot of pressure, a lot of stress, a lot of eyes on me at that particular time. And so while you're dealing with the damage of the severance of a relationship, and I want to say this about anybody, it doesn't matter the reason for the divorce.
Okay.
Any loss of any relationship in which you've invested your life is going to have a traumatizing effect on you.
Okay.
And so you have to, because you have to deal with the death of what was, and then figuring out what's going to be next. So anyway, was dealing with that, kind of went through that process. And then not only that, dealing with my own issues of what the grief of that, having to manage a child, having to manage a church who's used to, every church always pastor and first lady, that's,
right.
So, it's almost like you got a bunch of adult children that you're having to explain the same thing you had to do to explain to your 12-year-old, they're all looking like, well, what does this mean for us?
Right.
I mean, that means something for me, but it did mean some things for the church as well. And so you have that, and then you just kind of have to wade through navigating what that looks like, navigating through friendships. You have common friends, you have to deal with that, and then rebuild your life. Rebuild your life.
So, and let's talk about the hurt. The healing process. What are some things that you did to get through your healing process? I know there's a lot of people out there that do not believe in counseling. don't believe in, sometimes they're embarrassed. You know, they don't want to talk about what they went through, their hurt and things of that nature.
Right.
How did you get through your healing process?
Well, first of all, I would absolutely recommend, counseling. I mean, people like to be spiritual. Oh, just pray about it. I prayed and went to counseling. Went to counseling for over a year, just to kind of reconcile and settle things within myself and settle just the circumstances. And it was necessary. And so that was a part of it. Dealing with the things of the mind and the emotions. I think then, physically you take care of your body. You start paying attention to, how you react to certain things, exercising and things of that nature. I think part of the healing process is through the counseling process, you identify whether it's patterns of your own behavior, dysfunctions you have, things you learn about yourself that you have an opportunity to recover and fix as you build a new life. One of the things for me that I would say, because I all my industries, all the hats, they all have to do with serving people.
Right.
And one of the things that I was very poor at was serving myself. And so one of the things that I learned, how you heal, you learn to show up for yourself.
Yeah.
And so, if there was any classroom I was absent for, it was the classroom of myself. And so it was important to do that.
During this healing process, who all was affected?
Everybody. Okay, obviously you deal with the immediate, family. My daughter is affected because, you go from seeing your father every day to, having to navigate that part. Your friends are affected. Okay. Your friends are affected because, on one hand, number one, you're always going to have friends that take sides.
Right.
For whatever their reasons are. You're also going to have friends. There's one thing I would say to people who are going through things: don't always assume people's silence means aloofness, because a lot of times people just don't say anything because they don't know what to say, and maybe their emotions are conflicted too. And hey, maybe they want to tell you something about something they felt like you did that they didn't think was cool. So, but they don't, and so that frustrated silence. There's many factors, but I just think you have to consider that. So, then of course you have the church, because again, in some people's eyes, the moment that happened, I became diminished. I became compromised, and I was no longer qualified to. And some said that, I was no longer qualified, to be their pastor.
Let's stick a pin there real quick. Let's talk about the church. You're the bishop, and I'm just saying what the world says. You're the bishop.
Yep.
You know the word.
Yep.
You're saved. You're a Christian. You preach. You save souls. You evangelize. You should be able to get through this easier than most normal people.
No, I am normal people.
Right.
I'm normal people with an abnormal assignment.
Right.
And I think that's what people forget about people in ministry. You think just because I'm called of God, I am God. And I'm not. And it's like Paul said in Scripture, I'm a man of like passions. And so here's the thing. God ordains marriage.
Right.
He permits divorce. But divorce, regardless of the circumstances, is against the will of God. Now, obviously we could get into reasons why it's necessary to get a divorce, because I believe there are circumstances where it is.
That is true.
But at the end of the day, I had to go to God and acknowledge that failure and the reasons for it, and my part in that.
Was it tough to preach? During that time, to get up before people? Because I think sometimes, we don't realize that you do study to prepare. Some people think that it just already in you. You just get behind the pulpit and you just bam, there it is. Yeah. Especially, they said the Lord gave it to him, so he can just get up there. Yeah. Throughout all of this trial, how was it for you being behind the pulpit, studying and being able to pour into people when no one was pouring into you?
First of all, it was the grace of God, because it was very hard. Many Sundays, I would literally, and I've always been a person that arrived at church very, very early, just because I like the meditation, I like the quiet. But anyway, I would often be in my study, and I would literally just weep. For about an hour. I'd weep, pray, get myself together, wipe my face, and if I was teaching Sunday school, then I would do that. I would just, and they would never know the difference. Or I would go in, I would preach, and and it was like moments like that, like, God, I'm just gonna just take my hand. I don't know, and sometimes it was therapeutic. It was helpful because I was preaching to myself, as well as them. So I mean, and I always am. But I mean, there were moments where, you don't study to preach, you study to live, and you preach out of your living. And so, much of what I was saying to others is I say to myself first.
Yeah. So, okay, let's fast forward a little bit. So you went through your healing process, you went to counseling, and then it's time to date. Mm-hmm. Can we move that fast?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, well, I'll say, listen, it was an experiment, an ongoing experiment, the dating part.
So, okay, so can I be real?
Let's be real.
Okay, so when a single man of God becomes available, I'm sure it was hard for you to go to places and disregard the extra attention at certain places. Yeah. So let's fast forward a little bit more. What was so special about LaToya that you actually took the opportunity to date her and make her your wife? Let's talk about the dating portion. Were you totally healed when you met LaToya?
Well, but we were friends. We've been friends. So, but we didn't really become close friends until this is after the divorce process. But I need to say this parenthetically, because before I got to LaToya, there were other people I interacted with. So I think, again, we talk about the process. Like immediately after my, in the close aftermath of my divorce, I tried dating, but I wasn't. No, I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't ready for that. But I tell you, I did the same thing other people do. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna show everybody. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna shake back. I'm gonna recover. Right. Just right here.
So rebound situations.
I'm not gonna call it. I'm not gonna say it's a rebound as much as it's you are trying to prove a point. So you may try to fit a square peg in a round hole. Gotcha. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so people do that. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. One thing the healing process teaches you is this. Mm-hmm. It's not so much you may know what you want, but more than anything, you know what you don't want. Right. And you know what you had to go through by not listening to that previously. Yeah. And so when you're in that situation, so now you're able to say, I don't care how much you like me. Mm-hmm. I'm not doing it. I'm not gonna be forced. I don't care what other people say. Oh, we think this works, or this person looks like. We need that for the church. You need it. I'm good. I'm gonna wait.
They were more concerned what was better for them versus what was great for you.
Well, I did have a meeting with some people. A conversation with folks at church, and they said we tired of seeing you. We tired of seeing you by yourself. Mm-hmm. We need us a first lady. Mm-hmm. And I said, is that a job description position at church? But yeah, it's okay. I understand.
So how did you ease into I guess let's fast forward a little bit and go into the dating. Yeah. How did you were married for 14 years. Mm-hmm. Dating is different now than it was 14 years prior to you being divorced. Yeah. How did you adjust? How did you adapt?
Well, honestly, it really wasn't that particularly hard because I had boundaries. Okay. And I always had, kind of a busyness about myself. Mm-hmm. So I was really more consumed with those things. And you recall, actually, I wrote my first cookbook at that time. You sure did. And was doing all of that was because I poured my creative energies into other spaces. Mm-hmm. Now, in doing that did draw upon certain attention as well. Because it's like, oh, it's cooking. I see one plate. Where's the second one, right? So that happened. But again, I was more focused on. I was not going to allow anyone in my space like that, knowing what it would cost. Right. And so sometimes that meant, telling people no, or avoiding situations too. I gotta be honest about that. Sometimes you just avoid it. I'm gonna keep myself out of it, right. And try to do that. And at the end of the day, so you asked me about Toya. Mm-hmm. The difference was because we were literally just friends. And so she was just, as we built our friendship and got to know each other, she was there with me in moments of that transition, but she was there as a friend. Like,
oh, that's good.
So it was not, we weren't like romantic people that became, decided to be a couple. It was more, we were friends, and I remember telling one of my partners when I was talking about her, I said, this is perhaps this is the absolute most romantic platonic relationship I've ever seen.
Wow.
Because it never happened that way with anyone.
Okay. So let me ask you this. So in the dating phase, was she a part of your healing process? Were you totally healed during that moment? Or would you say she was a part of your healing process?
Well, I mean, to say she was part of my healing process may be accurate to the extent that she was just a friend and a space. So she was a person that was in my life without agenda. So it made it a safe place.
That's good. You said without an agenda. So that's really, really good.
Right. She didn't want to be a first lady. In fact, it was
Right.
scary to her. So she didn't want anything from me. So it wasn't like, oh, you got X, Y, and Z going on. Let's go and move this along. And I'm looking for a husband. You available? Let's make it work. And so, yeah, to that extent, I guess yes. But I would see more of our relationship as the backside of that sort of a restoration more than healing.
Were you ever ashamed of anything from your past during this dating process? Were you afraid of different questions or concerns that may have come your way? Because, a lot of people have gone down the same, path of divorce,
Sure.
but everyone handles things differently. What would you say to someone that's recently divorced, but they're embarrassed, they're ashamed, and they don't want to go into the dating alley, all because they wouldn't know how to respond?
Gotcha. Well, I'm gonna say one thing about the relationship may have failed, but you're not a failure. There was always life after. There's always life after, and you have to get about the business of living through a dying place.
Right.
Then I would also say, in terms of how you deal with it, your partner, the person who's either going to be your best friend or be your lover or be your second chance or another chance at partnership or lifelong partnership. The Bible talks about being naked and not ashamed. You have to if you make peace with who you are and where you've been,
Right.
then you don't have to lie about it.
Right.
You don't have to protect yourself or shield yourself from it. And whoever you come into relationship with is going to be able to see that, receive that, and naked and not ashamed. Can I be who I am and you not bring me into shame about where I've been? Everybody has a past.
Right.
So, everybody has a past of some form. There were other people before you, other relationships before you, other things, other experiences. And so you got to be grown enough, to accept that, number one. And then number two, you've made mistakes. That person's made mistakes, but you have too. So when you own that, and my mantra pretty much was, look, this is who I am. This is what it is. And if you love me through that and because of that, then you're the one.
Okay. So with Toya having a daughter, you had a daughter. So we fast forward to dating. You proposed. It was a nice proposal.
I did good.
Yeah, you did very well. Kudos to you. And
I don't post that videos.
she says yes. You have this beautiful wedding, wonderful honeymoon, and you get back. Did you all prepare to bring two families together before the marriage, or did you prepare? Or did you plan afterwards? What was the process for that?
Yeah. No. I mean, listen, blending families is a fact of life, particularly in our culture now. I mean, you got 74% of parents being born in single homes. At some point, there's a high probability that somebody other than the biological parent is going to be a part of that child's life. That has to be part of the conversations that you have before you decide to get in. Hey, this is what I like. This is what I like. We got to focus on more than that surface stuff. You got to have some serious conversations.
Well, let me tell you why I'm asking, because I was doing some research prior to our conversation, and that a lot of comments that I saw on different articles was that we'll get to it when we can. That's not important right now. We need to find a place to live, and then we'll figure it out afterwards. And I thought that was a huge mistake for couples to make, especially when there are children involved.
Yes.
So that's why I was asking that question, because I've seen a lot of comments of, we'll figure it out as we go.
It will destroy your relationship. There's too many factors. You've got to, because see, number one, when you're blending families, you're blending cultures, ways of doing things, the way you respond to certain, stimulus or discipline, or how you articulate love, how you receive love. You got to meld that, and that takes a lot of communication. That takes some trial and error. So with my wife's daughter, our daughter, but blending. So coming in, so on the dating end, on the front end, you're kind of, you're feeling your way. Hey, how you doing? Because they're protective of the child too.
Right.
So they're not just, she wasn't one of the women like, oh, I'm just so happy to have a man around for my daughter. Hell, take her. No, it was like, yo, and her father. She has father as well. So you got to respect that, respect those boundaries, and you just try to cultivate, as good a relationship and communicate. I think what children need to know more than anything is, hey, you love them, you're there for them, and you're gonna be there for them just like you're there for their parent.
Right.
So then they, you can't have this situation where, oh, I want your mama, but
right,
I'm just an accessory or something like that.
Right.
So it's a learning process. But here's the thing, interestingly enough, so all right, she's watching, she's gonna laugh. Okay, this is how I knew we were not dating at the time.
Okay.
We weren't romantic at all at the time. Let me be clear.
Okay. And
this is how I knew she liked me.
Okay.
All right. So daughter's birthday party is coming up, and I said, yo, I want to do something for her. I want to handle the party. He's like, what? I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna handle the party. So I'm gonna take care of everything. You just go ahead and do the cake or decoration you're gonna do. I said, I got it. And without a word, she was like, okay.
What?
And I was like, so I drove off.
Winning.
I'm like, yeah. Yeah, she like
because
me.
it's not
Yeah,
easy for a woman, and
right.
Latoya has standards, and it's not easy for a single mother to just say, yeah, you can do this for my child. So I'm sure, that was a sign, that was.
Well, it was a sign, number one, that she trusted me. I mean, there's more than anything. I mean, I'm jokingly serious about, I knew I got it, but it was true. But I also knew at a deeper level, this is the most precious thing in the world to you. So for you to even provide, because if I was just some hack, this could be a disaster. Right. So clearly, you trusted me. And so anyway, so we fast forward to even when we got engaged, right? Part of that process, Maya was involved in.
Oh yeah, that
right. So
yeah.
She was a part of it. I talked to her just like I talked to mother and family. Like, hey, I want to marry her. And I was like, hey, how you feel about it? So? And
apparently she said yes.
Yeah, I mean, hey, for her to basically pop the question for me.
Right.
I think we was all right.
So let me ask you this as well. So there's a lot of men out there. They're probably in love right now, think that they're ready to pop the question, and they may be a pastor, they may be a CEO of the company, may be well known in the community. What are some steps that you took to protect them from what you had experienced, especially bringing her to your church? Bringing her around new friends, into your circle, so she would not either be attacked or ask, the wrong questions. How did you prepare, or how did you protect them from all of that?
Well, you got to be selective. You do this. Well, I tell you what going through divorce helped me do is be more guarded about what I share and who I share, my life with, because I probably overshared previously. But now, so you're guarded. But then as it relates to the church, one thing I made very clear to her was, listen, I want you to be yourself.
Good.
Be comfortable. There was no rules. There was no, hey, look, you get to wear this. Here's your hat. Here's your stockings. You got to sit here. And everyone third, no, it was kind of like, look, this is what it is. You feel your way. I got this. I'm called to this. You're called to me. I got this.
Right.
So and you'll find your way. And it's worked beautifully, actually.
That's good. Okay. So I got to go back to the dating part, because that is difficult for a lot of people.
Yeah.
When is it okay to start dating, or when is it okay to start accepting invites to dinners or entertaining, friends, things of that nature after a divorce?
Well, I mean, it's going to vary by situation, but I'll simply say this. See, it's one thing you got to define what date, you got to set your boundaries. I think if you want to entertain people, if you want to go out, I think I think it's okay to do that, because part of that process is kind of the part of you rebuilding, filling your way out, how people respond, things like that. But I think you do it with the context of, like I say, having the right kind of boundaries out. So you go coffee with people, you just kind of fill them out. Don't put yourself in situations that you may later regret. So like, hey, come over, it turns into Netflix and chill, and you didn't really want that. You know what I'm saying? But you got yourself in a situation, and you're like, well, I might as well do this. But so you got to try to avoid that kind of stuff as much as you can. So for me, a lot of it was like, I go out to dinner with you and go coffee. I cook, so that was almost a ready-made conversation starter. Hey, let me, let's, and I just try to avoid that. And I did avoid that.
Okay, so some people are not as romantic as you. He said he cooks.
I wasn't.
Toya. We'll have part 2 with Lady Toya. Okay. So, what would you advise someone who's just like this regular guy, and he just shoots it straight, to women, but he doesn't know, how to get back in the game. He's still wearing his Stacey Adams and medium shirts, and going to the club because he's depressed, and drinking his whiskey. I'm being real. Yeah. Drinking his drink or whatever, because he's just given up on the dating game because he feel like everybody's like gold diggers. And the reason why I'm asking that, because that is the actual question that was text to me. They want to know, what steps do they need to take? Should they change who they are? Should they, change their circle? But they're tired of being in the house all day. Yeah,
you need a good friend that'll help you, a good male friend if it's a guy to help you with that. Because see, the problem is, what most men do, what mistake we make when we try to reform ourselves and build ourselves, we wind up connecting to a woman who reforms us into the image of the man she wants. So you wind up chasing that, and then you may become that, but then not want her.
Right.
And then basically you get the thing where you use me, and now you're over here with her doing all the stuff I taught you to do.
Right.
So you gotta be careful about that. That's why I think you need friends, not friends with not people who have an agenda with you. Right. So what's that step you're trying to get back in the game? I mean, again, that's why the self-healing stuff works, because you kind of talking to yourself, making sure you know what your triggers are, know what your dysfunctional patterns are, so that when you put yourself out there, you don't keep repeating the same patterns. Right. If you haven't done A, there's no reason to talk about B, because you're just basically, you take you with you everywhere you go. So it doesn't matter if you're at the house, you're at the club, you're at the coffee shop, you're at church. If you have not done the internal work to recognize who you are at your core, and then what you want and what you don't want, then you're really not presenting the real you to anybody. So you won't date right.
And I know we're getting close to time, but I have 2 more questions for you, if you don't mind. So another question has been asked. Is it okay to be friends with your ex? Your ex-husband or your ex-wife? Is it okay?
I think there are circumstances where people can be friendly with their ex, especially and pretty much singularly when children are involved, because there's a continuing interaction, and you don't want necessarily to have that where that's a constant stressor on the kid just because y'all hate each other or whatever happened.
No, they want to come to the family cookouts and No,
I don't think you do that. I think there has to be boundaries. There got to be healthy boundaries. You're an ex for a reason, and just because we have the children in common, you don't get to come to the cookout. No, I mean, exes may come to funerals.
Wow.
Generally, they'll come pay their respects at a funeral, and but you don't come to the cookout.
I'm just trying so hard not to laugh right now.
You don't get to come over. You don't get to come over. No, it's why? Right. Why? I mean, what are we friends? We're not friends.
Right.
We're people that shared a common interest at a time, and now we don't.
Right. So my last question to you is, what has changed from, and I'm not talking about Bishop Randall, Pastor Randall, Attorney Randall, what has changed with Andrew since the divorce?
Oh yeah, definitely an intentionality about self-care. Because here's the thing. Because I was so bad at it, right? And then you're going through these traumatic experiences, and you're surrounded by people who are used to you giving. And so that need of you did not go away because you're going through, you know. Right. So I mean, I remember being at church and like I took a couple of weeks off preaching, and I remember a couple members like, look, when you gonna preach again? We ready, you know. Wow. And I'm like, and they have no clue as to what I'm dealing with internally, but it didn't matter. They wanted what they wanted. Right. But one of the things that was critical in the healing process, like, okay, so on Sunday, the loneliest time for me would be maybe 2:00 on a Sunday. Right. Service is over, people at lunch, you've had all this fellowship, but you're, basically sitting there, I would say, quite frankly, and on a general basis, that was always kind of a tough time for me because I'm kind of rehearsing the service in my head. Yeah. So it was amplified by the fact that now I'm alone, and it was very easy. People would come, they're at the altar or at the door, you're greeting them, and then they go to lunch or they go with their booze or spouses and they go do that, and you're just standing there. Right. And nobody's inviting you to dinner, nobody's saying, hey, you want to grab? Nothing. And while that, in that space, this is how I knew I was better. In that space, I was like, it's very easy to just pull somebody in that space just so you're not alone. Right. And God said to me, he said, no, I just want you to be by yourself. I want you to feel it. I said, God, this hurts. I said, I'm lonely. Everybody just took from me and they're gone. They blessed. They over there and I'm just over here. Right. And then nobody invited me to eat, but they all under my comments, bring me a plate. And nobody wanted to ask me how I was doing. Right. Nobody asked me. And so I'm sitting there and he said, yeah. He said, I want you to feel it. Wow. And I was like, yeah. He's like, I need you to feel the weight of the loneliness and walk through it without grabbing somebody into it. Because if you can do that, then you'll stay. You won't grab a dysfunctional thing to make yourself feel better because you didn't. Nobody made me feel better. You know what I'm saying? Nobody, no woman restored me. Through that in the sense of I needed her, I wouldn't be where I am. So yeah.
Well, close us out and let us know someone who's married or engaged to someone that's divorced. What are some things they should know about someone that's been married before and what to expect?
I think a real conversation that you have to have with somebody who's been divorced. You need to ask them, is there anything you would have done different in your marriage? Because most times what people do is, they trash the ex. Oh, they was this, that, and that. And that's why I'm single and free. They didn't appreciate me. They did this. They cheated. They did it. You can run down the list of things that you felt or that may have happened, right? But and it doesn't matter. In any of that, you still need to be able to answer the question, is there anything you would have done different? And I'm telling you right now, if you're dating somebody who's divorced or out of a long-term relationship and they can't tell you one single thing that they should do different or could have done different, run. Because it's evidence of pride, of narcissism, of blind spots, an inability to be introspective. And the same thing they're saying about that person today, they'll be saying about you tomorrow. That's right. Because they don't have the capacity to self-correct. Wow. And I think you got to check for that. That would be number one. Number two, you want to make sure it's over. Whether it's a divorce or people you interact with. I mean, my wife had never been married, but you got to make sure, hey, okay, is the deck clear? Okay. Like, are you done? Right. But it's for all you people who've been single and you have your choices. You got the Friday night menu. You can pick whoever you want. Whoever's the last person to answer the text, first person to answer, first one in, whatever. Right. When you're transitioning out of that lifestyle, you have to make sure you're clear so that you don't bring other people, bring people in your stuff. It's everything swings on a decision. And if you look at the word decision, right, it is that decide to cut. Incision is decide to cut. When you make a decision, it is literally I'm saying I am cutting everything because I have decided on you. But a decision is nothing without a commitment.
Wow.
So, I decided, I cut everybody, but if I'm not committed to you, then my decision is going to be undermined by my instability. Wow. So, those are two things I think you got to have in order. Three things you got to have in order because that's going to be the foundation of relationship. Right. And so, making sure a person's healed, and making sure you're in love with not just who they are now, but who they're going to become.
That's good.
You got to make sure you're in love with who they become.
And it has nothing to do with you being a Christian. So many people use that I'm a Christian or he's a Christian, he's saved. People go through things regardless of, you know, what you confess, how many times you pray, how many times you go to church. You're going to go through some things.
Being a Christian doesn't exempt you from pain.
That's
and
right.
Knowing the Bible doesn't exempt you from trial.
That's right.
We're human at the end of the day, and people have a right to hurt. But people have a responsibility to heal. That's right. But it's not your responsibility to heal them. And I think when you learn that, you don't find yourself, particularly if you see yourself, you feel like you're being used. It's probably the root of it is your choices, because you think if you help somebody or you fix a broken wing, that once they're restored, they'll be loyal to you. Right.
Well, I thank you for being transparent on today. I don't know how difficult that was for you, but we appreciate your transparency, and we're so happy that you're in love and you have a beautiful wife, a beautiful family, and we hope to go even deeper with Lady Randall, Lady Latoya, if we can have a part 2.
Well, I'm sure she would love to be on. I mean, she's
Lady Latoya.
You can comment there and tell them if you're game for it.
Yes.
I appreciate you. Thank you for allowing us this space and time. I mean, is it difficult? I mean, not difficult. I mean, no one likes the spotlight on them and to share their most intimate thoughts, but it's necessary. It's necessary. The Bible says we overcame them by the blood of the Lamb. That's Jesus' part, and the word of the testimony. That's our part. God has done the work in me and for me, but if I don't say anything about it, then I diminish the work.
That is so true. So true. Well, I'm excited. I hope we get a part 2, because this has really helped many people, single, looking, engaged, married. We're all blessed by this.
Well, y'all let us know. Listen, we're gonna upload this. I appreciate your comments. Please share, like the post. She said she's willing.
She's willing.
Like the post, share this on your pages, man. Somebody needs to hear this. And listen, I want to invite you, of course, to go to my YouTube page, Bishop Andrew Randall. We're going to upload this conversation. You can leave your comments there as well. I'll go in there live and comment, talk back with you, answer your questions if you have them. But please go and subscribe, Bishop Andrew Randall on YouTube. And we're grateful for this time tonight. Y'all got to give it up for Coach K. She is the best. And I'm thankful to her tonight for being here with us. Listen, we'll do this again very soon. Y'all let us know how soon you want us to do it. And we'll have some further discussions about some great topics. If you're here in Shreveport, I want to invite you to the Abounding Faith Temple, man. Listen, we're celebrating our 15th year church anniversary this month, and all month long, all kind of great things are happening, man. So you gotta come. 7288 Greenwood Road, Suite 102. And as I always like to say in closing, remember, we do not fight for the victory. We fight from our place of victory, because the victory is already yours. So be blessed, and we'll see you next week on the Soul Food Series.